in to the Pink Chakra Psychic Line is 888-235-7374.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Odell, and welcome to Developing Intuition Class 1. This is a series of 3. I'll be doing one a month. And the most important thing that we are discussing is that, yes, you are intuitive, and everyone is, although some of us just can maybe tune into things a little more seriously than others. But if you are a person that works in a dress shop and you instinctively know how outfits go together, or you are a creative person that loves doing beadwork or doing beautiful things, you know that being able to have an eye also is about tuning into what people like and tuning into the gut of what it is that you sense around you. If you have a day where you wake up and you're thinking, why do I feel like I'm walking in front of a bullet just by walking out the door, and then find that you have a car crash, or if you are somebody that feels instinctively the phone is going to ring, and it does, then you are experiencing intuition. Intuition is the ability to understand immediately, without conscious reasoning, a knowing without knowing why. And that's what we are going to do in this class. We are going to try to stop making it a haphazard situation and be able to help increase it, connect with it, define the different ways that each of us may tune into it, as well as go into just maybe some simple terms that you may find that psychics or intuitives use. So teaching you about developing your intuition will work best if you relax and you get a notebook, because having that notebook is going to be able to help you to write down some of the things that hit you as being familiar. One perspective is the source of intuition is a subconscious process that produces internal information that you are experiencing all around you and you don't even know it. Those are little computers going on up there, and we could be walking through a room and beep, 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 connecting to all kinds of things without even understanding that we're doing it. And one day, for instance, my mother used to always tell me, Anne, if you have a problem and you want the answer, ask your dreams to give you an answer. You may not wake up in the morning and have a definite dun-dun-dun type kind of answer, But what you will have is one day when you're sitting at your desk or at your job or in some kind of very relaxed moment in the shower or the john, all of a sudden a flash bulb intuitive idea comes. So for the purpose of this class, while it really doesn't matter where the information is coming from, we just want to make sure that we're tuning in to being accurate and useful with the intuitive flashes that we get. One of the things that I think is very important is the ability to demystify intuition. You know, being psychic is not something that is crazy weird. It's just like being a runner that practices using specific muscles in their legs, or a weightlifter that practices lifting weights. Because everyone has intuition, that means that for you to become amazingly accurate with it, it's just knowing that you have to practice using it all the time. So mainly, there are 4 different ways that being intuitive kind of connects with people, okay? But the 10 key secrets to intuition is that intuition always seems magical, right? And highly intuitive people always seem like they were the ones that you knew that were intuitive from kids. I'm one of them, but there are many that started late in life. And I'm going to tell you something. It is very important to know that when you are in stressful, negative times of your life, how you feel intuitively may be a projection of those intuitive thoughts you're getting. So be careful that what you are thinking is intuition is not your sense of insecurity based on a crushed ego. That is not intuition. Intuition is more about, it's a feeling in your stomach, in your solar plexus, and it never usually happens at all when you're trying to make it happen. I always say that the minute that you're driving the car and you're behind the wheel and you're saying, okay, now I'm going to be really intuitive, that's when it doesn't happen. It's when your angels and your guides or your intuitive higher self takes behind the wheel, and it's on their terms. There's an old Bible verse that says, thy will be done. And I really, really intuitively connect with the fact that there are so many people that use intuition as an ego thing. I read for people who belong to classes of intuitive instruction, and they begin to compete with each other. So please do not compete with your friends on who's getting hits and being right or who is not. It isn't, for some of us, it takes longer to tune in, and others may have a natural ability that is just gives highly detailed information. But I can tell you this. You know that psychic that's reading the cards? Or that psychic that is giving you information? Rhode Island psychic, people that give readings. They are not hearing a narration in their heads from a spirit. They are usually reading symbols, because angels don't necessarily communicate to us in a one-to-one conversation. They communicate through symbols. For instance, one of the exercises that I feel that we need to practice is how to ask ourselves a question. Like, let's say, can you tell me what the decision is going to be on a review I get at work today? So when that happens, tuning into symbols would mean that you empty your mind, and that is so important because when you relax, when you take away that analytical voice, you will stop picking apart detail by detail and poo-pooing everything that you're intuitively picking up. Having a notebook to write down symbols is very important, and having an intuitive notebook anyway to begin to start to practice writing down thoughts, flashes of words, symbols, and then defining just right on the top of your mind what comes to you. It can be numbers, it can be a color, it can be a texture, it can be anything that gives you the ability to build on it. That's what symbols do. They allow you to have conscious thoughts to build on it. Here is an example. Every day, what are you doing when you read the news on the internet, or you read a book, or you read instructions in a manual, or you read the Bible? You are reading symbols. Ever since we were little children in school, we were taught that this letter has the sound of A, and that would be an A. Or if it's a big A, a capital A, that's A. But here's the thing. As we grow up and we become familiar with the symbols of alphabets, and we start putting conscious thoughts behind those symbols when they're gathered together, we can actually transport ourselves into the future, into the past, into the present day, simply by the ideas that gather from words that are created by the alphabet, which is symbols. So being able to pick up on, let's say, I am asking that question again. How will my review go at my job today? And then I close my eyes, I relax myself, I take away my analytical thought, and then I open my eyes, and the first thing that I look at is the symbol that is going to give me the answer. For instance, I'm looking at the back of my office door. My office door is brown, smooth, and it has pictures on it of people. If I were just to look at that and say, oh, well, it's a door and it's got pictures on it, well, that wouldn't be much of an answer, would it? But to me, the smoothness of the door may indicate, I think I'm going to have a smooth and problem-free review today from my boss. If the pictures on my door are of people, I can say, maybe one of the things my boss is going to mention is that I have a good way with teamwork and people. But if the expression on the face of the picture on my door is grumpy, I might want to use that as a symbol that say, the smooth door indicates that my review is going to go problem-free and smooth today. But the picture of the grumpy person I'm looking at may indicate that there is going to be somebody that has a complaint about me, or that I need to have a better attitude about my job. All I'm saying is this is how you begin to tune into the obvious symbols of a flower. What is the color of the flower? The flower is white. What does white represent? White represents innocence. It represents a sense of purity. Perhaps something in your life today concerning a grandchild or a child is going to be in your day, or maybe an animal is going to be in your day, or if it's got to do with, a book. Let's say you're walking down the street and the first thing that you do is you flash on a title on the book. And the book is something like Marketing for Dummies. Or maybe it is, and you've been really, for some reason, wondering why your business isn't getting more response. Well, then that book that's Marketing for Dummies may be exactly what you needed to see that day. So you're walking down the street and all of a sudden you bump into a friend and you have a conversation, and that friend says, I know somebody that I was talking to about you, and they've really been interested lately in what you've been trying to sell. So now you've run into a book about marketing, a friend who has a connection for you, and your day synchronistically. And what is synchronistically? Synchronicity is when you have things that happen to you that would seem to be random, but they all end up being things that line up like dominoes perfectly. You've had a day like that. You have. Let's say that you woke up in a really bad mood. And let's say that you said, well, geez, I just don't even feel like getting out of bed today. And then all of a sudden the phone rings and somebody calls and says, hey, we're having a get-together today, and it's lunch, so we'd like you to turn up, and we haven't seen you for a long time. So you go and get ready for lunch, and then that same day, a letter comes in, a bill return about a credit from a bill that's giving you back $50. Well, you were kind of broke that day anyway, and there you are. Here's your $50 from something that comes back to you that you overpaid on. Now you've got your lunch money. So you go out to your car and you're thinking, I probably am going to have to fill up on some gas here. And you look at your speedometer, and lo and behold, the person that was using your car before, whether it was a husband or a kid, just happened to synchronistically fill your tank up the day before. So now you've got $50 in your pocket. Your boring day has turned into a lunch outing with someone. You have the money, you have the gas, and each moment that the day goes on, you run into a friend that you were just thinking of last night that's also at the lunch, or maybe they were at Walmart after you have lunch. So synchronicity is when things line up randomly, but it's almost as if it's like a divine plan. That is what synchronicity is. So we're going to look at today what's some of the ways that people intuitively like to think that they connect, okay? So one of the things, terminology that you may hear quite often is, and I'm looking at my blog because I am referring to that as some of the things I wrote down today. We're going to look at what is higher self. A lot of people feel that intuition comes from your higher self. And higher self can be angels. It's as if you are connecting with all of the, let's say that you have guardian angels. It is a sense of connecting with your spirits, your guardian angels, and a feeling that there is a universal thread or a universal consciousness that we are all tapping into. Call it God, call it angelic guidance. But the main thing that you will want to focus on is that whether you believe that your guidance is coming to you from that or not, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you believe without a doubt that your intuition is something that you can have with faith. Because the minute that you begin to doubt yourself, you are going to find that sure enough, you are wrong. Okay, so inner knowing, I'm going to explain that. Inner knowing goes by many different terms. It's higher self, innate wisdom, claircognizance, or intuition. And whatever you want to call it, inner knowing is the ability to tap into the power of the universe to guide you through life. And those who have strong inner knowing know certain things through their own psychic or gut feelings. And they are often referred to as strong intuitions that appear out of nowhere, that a person just knows is true. Now I'm going to tell you a little story about inner knowing. I had a photographer take pictures of my mom and I a long time ago. I said, Mom, we're not too old yet, so we might as well just get some pictures taken in case we ever do anything together. We had these wonderful pictures of ourselves. So we went into this professional photography studio in the town, and there was this guy. And on the front of his window, he had these amazing pictures. And these pictures were of people in natural poses, not posed poses like, selfies. They were natural, and they drew you into the picture, and you wanted to know the story behind them. So we asked him, how do you get these amazing pictures? And he says, well, that's easy. He says, when I feel in my gut that I see a picture that needs to be taken, I just I just take it. Because the minute I start to analyze whether it's a good picture, it's gone. And that's what analyzing your intuition does. They're two different things. When your inner knowing tells you without a doubt that your child is out there and there may be something that you need to contact either a friend or you need to find out about something that they've been doing because your inner knowing has been telling you something is not right. Go for it. Because see, if you're analyzing that feeling, you're going to say, oh, I'm worrying about nothing. There's no reason to do that. But wouldn't it be strange if that same night your child had a car wreck? Or you found out that your child was stranded on the road and that they needed you? You should have just gone with your gut feeling. Don't worry about analyzing what you're feeling. First and foremost, go with what your gut says before you allow your brain and your analytical mind to say, oh no, that can't be. Okay, so the belief behind inner knowing is that it is the power of the universe creating everything, including us. So connecting with this power is where inner knowing comes from. And once this power is harnessed, your understanding of things becomes deeper and almost effortless. And inner knowing quickly becomes the ability to be that part of us working constantly in the background with us without us even knowing it. Because every image we see and every sound we hear and everything we touch and every thought that we think is tracked by our inner knowing, and it helps our intuition to grow and evolve. Okay, so maybe you're wondering, well, I believe in angel communication. Well, what is angel communication? Angel communication, again, is when you feel I have a friend who believes that she has 3 angels. One is the angel that guides her while she's driving. The other is the angel that directs her life. I can't remember what her other angel was. But I do know that she feels very powerfully that she connects with these angel guides. And that when she's driving, she can almost imagine that angel is on the front of her car, like like a mast on a ship, guiding her and helping her to have a safe trip. And there are many angels, and if you love angels, do get a book and harness into the different powers of different angels. Do you need to name your angels? Well, I believe that I read with the angel frequency. I believe that I am surrounded by angels, but at the same time, I don't name them because angels are much more evolved than that. They don't need you to name them. They are more about being our guides, being of assistance, helping us make wise decisions. And those are the things that our angels are here for. They are of light, and they are here of, who knows, maybe their mission is to be able to have their wings by helping us through the tough times of our life. So what is the intuition? Okay, first of all, we have decided it's not about reasoning. It's not about deduction. And it's not about analyzing and rationalizing a conclusion. It's not coming up with a solution because we're behind the wheel and we're saying, okay, intuition, let's make it work. So what is intuition like? How does it come to you? Well, first of all, the first thing I want you to know is be relaxed and be open. Because if you are tense, you're going to make some decisions that are not necessarily compatible to your intuition. The first secret is really important to being able to receive intuitive information easily and with clarity. And it's for you to be receptive and passive. Be open to what you will receive because the information isn't coming from your thinking mind. It's not something that you may even expect. Being open to receive is like the golden key to the city. Intuitive answers are guidance. So remember this, baby dolls. Be open to what you get. And whatever you receive is okay. When you are uptight or worried about what you are going to receive, intuitive messages are going to be harder to receive. And intuitive messages are meant for you to be calm. It's like, here's your guides, here's your angels saying, okay, now sit down, okay? I'm going to give it to you straight. I can't count how many readings I've done where I've told people, please understand, I'm going to be honest with you about what I get. Now, I am a tarot symbol reader, but it is not the cards that I am reading. People that use tools to trigger their intuition are not supposed to rely on the tool. They're supposed to rely on the tool to trigger their intuition. So when you use a tool like a card, like tarot cards or numerology, or pendulums or whatever, the purpose of them is to trigger your intuition. That's it. They are nothing but paper. They are nothing but a tool that was made in a factory. They themselves do not have magical powers. The magical power is in you. It is your intuition. And the connection that happens is the magic that happens. And remember, when you're uptight or worried, you're not going to be able to receive the messages that you get. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes when you receive messages for yourself through tarot or through anything, you're going to have to get through that part where you always give yourself the messages you want to hear. Remember also, if you're filled with negativity, you may project bad messages to yourself. And that's why learning to distance from your thoughts, learning to calm yourself is the number one thing you have to do to be a good intuitive reader and to connect with your own intuition. You can think to yourself that you'll now be receiving guidance and say to yourself, I will be open to receive whatever I get, dear angels. And intuitive messages often guide you to an answer, but they don't always tell you what to do. So don't get worked up and don't be anxious or tense about getting an intuitive message and then find that because you are thinking, feeling, seeing, hearing, and aware, that the picture in your mind is not reflecting what you wanted to see. You may find that it is exactly opposite. That's okay. That's your intuition saying, here's the honest picture. Now listen, okay? And so visualize that you're sitting in a big easy chair, relaxed, and being open to whatever appears to you. Number 2, no figuring it out, no judging the answer. As we said before, it is important that you not analyze. The biggest inhibitor of your intuition is our thinking and judging mind. We've already discussed that. So we're going to try to stop analyzing everything that our gut is telling you, because you must resist doing this or you're going to be sabotaging your process of intuition. Fragments and symbols. Intuitive messages do not involve thinking, but often it appears through thought, and it is a concept that pops into your head. Maybe it's just a few little words like, oh, what, I don't know, a few little words like grandchild or children coming at 6, or uh, maybe you're, or having a little surge of words that come to your head. The intuitive message is not a thought out long conversation, because that's not what happens. Your guides do not talk to you in conversations. Intuitive messages come to you in bits and pieces, and intuitive messages are short, and they disappear really fast. And they often feel or seem like they're little tiny pieces of a puzzle. So, as you get better at intuition, you will be able to be better at being able to fit those little pieces together. Because intuitive information comes in symbols and represents the meaning of what those symbols mean. Those symbols are uniquely yours. Don't worry if your intuitive thoughts, if you belong to a group of people, is not exactly like everyone else's. Remember, everybody thinks differently. Every reader reads differently. And that's another mistake. A lot of people that go to readers expect every reading to be exactly alike. If you take 10 people in a room and you ask them to explain a situation that just happened in the room, they're probably going to explain it in 10 different ways. The action is the same, but you're getting a piece of the puzzle from 10 different people that see it in different ways because everyone thinks differently. So, what are the different signs outside of yourself? Just as your intuition can draw your attention to notice things in your environment as part of a way to communicate to you, right? You will be able to collect messages from the outside of yourself. They don't necessarily have to come from your gut or inside your brain. They can be signs that come from the outside of you. Well, how can your intuition make a sign appear outside of you? Well, since the universe is connected to you, and everything is part of the universe, right? Everything is a part of God, or however you perceive the universe, it brings you signs that can be a message for you. And this is where synchronicity comes in. Synchronicity makes the right things, the right people, the right situations appear at the right time. But they can also be part of an intuitive message for you. And so these signs can be very clear messages from road signs, license plates, literal signs on the wall, a headline on a newspaper or book, a book title, or real people who serve as earth angels around you. And what is an earth angel? An earth angel can be anyone you happen to encounter in your day who just happens to tell you what you need to hear at that moment. Someone you probably don't even know could be an earth angel, or that they are an indirect messenger that are supposed to come to you. You may overhear a conversation that has relevance to you on the very situation that you're dealing with in your life, and maybe it gives you the answer you're looking for. An earth angel may be a friend who tells you just what you needed to hear at the right moment. And it's important to recognize that sometimes the sign is just a pointer, just a piece of the puzzle to send you to the next place and the next place as you're gathering that information. Pop, pop, pop. So I'm going to tell you a book that I want you all to get. Intuition on Demand. Intuition on Demand. It is a phenomenal book. It will guide you to so much ease in being able to process your intuition that you won't believe it. It's so easy to understand. So please understand, book number 1 for class number 1 that I am gaining information on with today is Intuition on Demand. You can get it at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Okay, guys, the most important thing that you have to remember is you have to believe in your intuition. Because when you believe that intuition exists and that everyone, including you, can tap into it, your intuitive power increases. And here's a funny story. My husband is exactly opposite of me. I'm a liberal, he's a conservative Republican. I give readings for a business, he's an electrician. I'm very, you know, abstract and go with the flow. He's very anal, black and white. But he started to notice that after he was living with me for a few years, that weird things were happening. Like he would get calls from people that he loved right before they died. The first time was coincidence. The second time, he had to think. And when it happened a third time, and he passed somebody's house that he knew he was going to see at work that day, and the street light flashed 4 times, and he got to work, and somebody said he died that day. He had to realize that he was getting messages from another source. When someone close to you lives with you, whether it's a child or a husband, and you believe in the power of intuition, it is contagious. And you will notice that your loved ones living with you also become intuitive. So your doubt about your intuitive ability saps the very energy behind being successful in it. And while you may find yourself doubting as being the most difficult thing you know how to trust your intuition, just know it takes practice and experience just as much when you're tapping into your intuition to get over your doubt. So number 1, relax. Number 2, start tapping into the symbols around you. whether they're colors, whether they're road signs, whether they are a gut feeling that you're having. Start tapping into little symbols and things you see and the little groups of words that pop into your head. Number 3, practice eliminating doubt in your gut feelings. The more that you doubt yourself, the more you sabotage your ability to be intuitive. All highly intuitive people have gone through periods of doubt, especially when they are starting to build up their intuitive skills. But learning how to strengthen your intuition is just like any other skill, like tennis or golf or like I said, running. It takes a lot of practice. It takes being confident and trusting that you can do it. And if you drive a car, do you remember when you first learned how to drive and you thought, oh my God, I'll never be able to learn how to drive through traffic? But you have years of practice now, and it's like smooth sailing, no big deal. It's second nature. And that's how working on developing your intuition, tuning into little symbols, tuning into your angel guidance, making sure that you stop doubting yourself is going to certainly and most definitely become smooth as silk for you. Trust that your intuition works and that you can receive an intuitive answer. You have to believe that you will and are perceiving intuitive messages. You know you do. How many times did you know that darn phone was going to ring and it rang? How many times did you have that gut feeling about a loved one and something happened? You know from day one that intuition is with you. Don't let people talk you out of it. It's pure. It's beautiful. It's God-given. Now, outside tools. What are outside tools? Sometimes we can use a little help. Outside tools, as opposed to the methods you use inside your mind, are traditionally called divination tools. And some examples of tools would be angel or tarot decks, numerology, palmistry, runes, tea leaves, I Ching. There's no magic in these tools, like I told you before. It's just triggers for your intuition. So when you remember to trigger your intuition by asking. One of the biggest myths about intuitive information is that it just appears to you randomly. But I always wondered how people made their intuition actually happen on what they want. And this is true. Yes, intuition comes randomly to you through words that pop in and things. But you can trigger your intuition, like my mother said, by asking your dreams, by maybe starting your day, asking yourself a question. So don't be afraid to also learn how to trigger your intuition just by thinking in your mind, by responding, and you can ask questions about anything. For example, a good way to start asking and developing your intuition is by, where is there an open parking lot? Relax, close down your analytical mind, and just drive to where you think that open parking spot is. Where's the best place for me to eat for lunch on the menu? And just empty your mind, relax, and go there. You can ask for help with anything, but start with the very simple things. You get what you get, and don't get upset if your intuition says, let go of this moment. let go and just stop working on it right now. This is not the time. When you're looking for divine guidance from your intuition, you may struggle with wanting a certain outcome or have an urge to try to figure out a more complex meaning or story behind what your intuition is telling you. Don't do this. One of the worst things tarot readers do, especially those that read for themselves, is they get the answer. Then they say, okay, why did I get that answer? Okay, now tell me why I got that answer. Okay, now tell me why I got that answer. And before you know it, you're analyzing what you're analyzing, what you're analyzing, and pretty soon you're not being intuitive at all. And don't be surprised if one day your intuition just starts telling you, go to hell, because your intuitive or whatever your intuition will purposely almost get angry with you because you keep questioning it. It's important not to push your intuition because then it becomes more and more elusive and it becomes more faint and it starts to disappear, and pretty soon you can't get crap, okay? So don't try too hard when you're developing intuition. Your exercise for this week, I want you to learn to relax, clear your mind, and ask yourself a simple question. I want you to close your eyes. Ask yourself your question in your mind. Open up your eyes and describe the first thing that your eyes land on. What is the texture? What is the color? What detail is around it? And then slowly but surely, you can build and build and build on the meaning of that, those little tiny things that you see. If you're blind, then focus on things you hear. What do you hear? What is my hearing telling me? As long as you can hear or see, this exercise is going to be something you want to write down. You want to write down the thoughts you have. Go back to them, write down the time. Remember simple questions like that pertain to your day, and stop analyzing and don't doubt yourself. Just let it flow, because eventually we're going to go into mediumship and spirit connection, and right now we're just going into learning to relax and simple exercises. So that's our simple exercise for today. I do want to thank you for being with me today. And maybe the most important thing that you can remember today is that there is divine guidance all around you. There is the ability to listen to your gut, to your angels, to the things you hear, to the things you see. And as you tune into those things, you will find more and more that you are able to answer the simple little things at work, in your romance, in your relationships. And also remember that as you begin to start to find a certain psychic that you trust, for instance, moi, I have been at this for over 40 years, and you will be able to find me at Keen, Best Psychics Directory, and I welcome you for a reading by going to my website, thecallingoflight.com. See you on the third week of the next month for our next lesson. Bye-bye.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.